I've brought up the point now that Mr. Mueller's appointment is unconstitutional. I thought I made it clear on Hannity last night. The appointment of all special counsel is not unconstitutional. Excuse me. It depends on how the special counsel is appointed. Whether the special counsel is appointed as a principal officer of the United States government, or whether he's appointed, or she, as a inferior officer of the United States government. Just to make it easy, whether he or she's appointed in a position that is equivalent to a U.S. attorney or an assistant U.S. attorney. The former requires a nomination by the president and confirmation by the Senate. The latter requires nothing. Just like 2 million other people in the civil service. So it depends on what the mandate is and how the appointment was made. And in the case of Rosenstein, he gave Mr. Mueller such a broad mandate and has broadened it since. And Mr. Mueller has broadened it on his own by expanding the authority of at least 4 of his subordinates by giving them assistant United States attorney status, that Mr. Mueller is a principal officer of the federal government. When he was given his appointment, there wasn't a single criminal statute mentioned. There wasn't a single individual mentioned. There wasn't a single violation suggested. It was just investigate Russian interference with our election and whether or not the Trump campaign colluded, in so many words. That's a mandate that is so broad, as you can see, that Mr. Mueller has broadened it far beyond that. Mr. Mueller is investigating mostly matters that have nothing to do with that. And the indictments he has brought mostly have nothing to do with that, too. So, what is he? He is a principal officer of the United States government. Doesn't mean every special counsel is, but he is. Even Ken Starr had specific areas of responsibility, specific criminal statutes that were mentioned. The other point is oversight. That's another critical issue. The case we're referring to here by making these elemental points is Marson versus Olson. A case that's about 30 years old, is 30 years old, 1988. And there's certain elements that are necessary to determine if somebody is a principal officer or an inferior officer. Now, somehow, many of the lawyers and some of the hosts on cable TV, including my favorite Fox, have missed this point or ignore it. And so they go on with the mantra, as if they're Steve Kerr or LeBron James, and go on with the mantra about, what is this? You don't know what you're talking about here. Well, I am the senior judicial analyst for the Mark Levin Show. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've studied the Constitution my entire life. I admit I was not a lower court New Jersey judge, but so what? What do they know? No offense. But here on the Morning Schmo, which is the show for the low IQ, people with low IQs, they love the Morning Schmo, and also the North Korean generals. It's their favorite show. And, of course, people who like the movie Deliverance, as the Morning Schmo reminds them of the banjo player on the bridge. Here we go, the Morning Schmo. We have Mika Brzezinski, the Ed McMahon of the show, if you will. Yes, tell him. Yes. Ho, ha, ho. That's her contribution to the show. Cut 7, go.
President Trump tweeted yesterday morning. He said this: the appointment of the special counsel is totally unconstitutional. Despite that, we play the game because I, unlike the Democrats, have done nothing wrong. That's a different take from President Trump about special prosecutors from back in 2016 when he was talking about Hillary Clinton.
We are going to get a special prosecutor to figure this deal out. I will ask my Attorney General to appoint a special prosecutor. Special prosecutor, here we come, right? I win. We're going to appoint a special prosecutor.
Good Lord.
Why, John Hyland, that's fascinating. He says it's unconstitutional, and yet that was an applause line. Every bit as loud of an applause there as build that wall. Also, haven't The president's Republican allies in Congress been talking about a second special counsel to investigate Hillary Clinton's rabbits and cats and goats and chinchillas or whatever. I mean, just wildly distracting from the first special prosecutor, but doing it at Donald Trump's bidding.
Joe, I think I know you often say you're a simple country lawyer, but I think your training, your legal training has been a little bit inadequate. You were misinformed. There are, in fact, two parallel constitutions to the United States, and one of the constitution that covers Hillary Clinton. And there's another constitution that covers all others. And
this is the kind of discussion that would occur in most Starbucks across the nation. Two morons impressed with each other. Let me try and help the clown that is John Heilman. What happened to his sidekick, Mr. Producer? Oh, he's not there because of sexual harassment. And Joe Scarborough. Let me try and help these two morons. Once again, the matter is determined by the kind of mandate, the kind of appointment that a special counsel gets. If, for instance, you appoint a special counsel to investigate Hillary Clinton because of her possible violations of the Espionage Act, and that is the nature of the appointment, and that is what's covered, that would be what we call constitutional. Mr. Halliman! Mr. Halliman! Halliman! Now, if, on the other hand, you were to, say, be Rod Rosenstein and appoint a fellow by the name of Mueller, and you don't mention any individual, you don't mention any criminal statute, you actually violate Department of Justice regulations when it comes to what you do when you appoint a special counsel, and you give the special counsel such a broad mandate, that's different. It's what we lawyers call, Joe, country lawyer, fact determinative. Mr. Mueller is an unconstitutional appointment because his mandate is virtually limitless and the oversight of his activities is virtually non-existent. Those are two of four crucial elements that the late Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, William Rehnquist, laid out in Marson versus Olson. And you clowns, Mika, Joe, and John, would never understand it. So there can be a constitutionally appointed special counsel, and in this case, an unconstitutional one. Now, I'm not done. I'll be right back.